Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Jess. And bingo, you are right again. Crompo just said it, complications. Well, here's a third one in the fight as the Mustangs are back in that fight. Now, we know it's been a year of parity debate, but gee whiz, aren't we back in the game now? And we saw race 25 and 26 there last weekend. The two Mustangs winning, Waters and Reynolds, but I can't remember seeing such emotion from race wins for four teams, and that tells us a lot about this weekend. They are going to be desperately hungry to win, and they don't care about that championship. And I remind you again what they've done to bring them back into the fight. They've taken some drag off the cars with a few of these extra bits. They made that wing a little wider, they took it up and they took it further back. And essentially, in simple terms, what that means, and it'll also help here today in the wet, is they move the aerodynamic balance, this point of aerodynamic balance in the car, just subtly rearward. And what that means now is when these guys race these cars around circuits, as we saw last weekend, look at these Mustangs at the end of the race, not at the start of the race. They can still keep their cars turning and aggressive, which they've always been able to do, but they haven't been able to make their rear tyres live. And if you look at Davey Reynolds here, he can turn sharply. The car's still pointy. We call that point. Look at this, in, gets its apex, just points really nicely. But now is where it would have typically suffered, is then putting its power down. Rear power off a corner, you can see here to Brody, no problem at all. He keeps that gap to him. Most importantly, under braking. You need rear downforce under braking, and they've picked up there. So that's really, really good news. The other thing it's done, when you talk about rear grip, this is one of the best parity pieces of vision I've ever seen. 5.4 litre quad cam 4-valve engine in the Ford, 5.7 litre 2-valve Chevy in the Camaro. And just watch this, when they get equivalent speed coming off a corner because of those tyres, right? So there's, have a look again, absolute equivalency in exit speed. Just check this, up to 240 k's an hour. I have never seen engines so close. Now, that's not to say there might not be a difference further up the track, but to 240, as you can see yourself there, they are bang on. The other interesting thing that really pleased me to see with Camaro versus Mustang at the Gold Coast was this. Again, with 60% downforce gone, I thought we may not see the same amount of side drafting. Now, what we're doing here, Shane Van Gisbergen on Reynolds, the airflow comes over this car, right? And it also goes around the car. But if you park your car right there, you force that air back over his car and onto his rear wing here, which almost puts his brakes on. You watch this. This is a fantastic example. Shane Van Gisbergen, very good. Puts it right there. Look at this. Puts the brakes literally on Reynolds and whistles on by. Very, very cool, and I'm pleased that Gen 3 is still doing that. So why does all that matter? When we come from the Gold Coast to Adelaide, very similar circuits. We've got some straights for some braking. We've got a fast chicane. We've got these areas we need to point, we talk about. So when we get to that championship battle, as they commence practice right now, here's where the focus is at. But I just wonder, is that going to be the spoiler in the pack?